I find it disgusting that you would even put that evil on someone else. Peaches, this is a pattern, and I mean this in the kindest way possible. Please stop tweeting. Just stop. And again, I want to say this in the kindest way possible too. Running your mouth. You tweet way too much and start sympathy seeking when you can't handle the pressure that you threw onto yourself.
This part right here, this is like telling a victim they had it coming because they dressed the way they wanted to. Maybe check the instead. And before Peaches says, I compared her actions to with this analogy. So he says that's not what he did. And then his response here is to just say, I cannot believe this bullshit. This is so fucking stupid. I cannot do this with you people anymore. I'm so sick. So he says absolutely nothing. He's like, wait until people construe my argument exactly how I intended. That's gonna be
Actually, this is not even. You're completely going off topic. The first thing that you say when you get in here is Omnia. The first thing you talk about when you get in here is Omnia. Can you shut the fuck up for 1 second? Conversation with someone so dishonest as this.
You know, I have been sitting on making a video about Kai for some time. He first came on my radar during the Hopeless Peaches drama, and though I mostly did not interact with him, he definitely gave my friends a lot of grief. And for a while, he kind of just became this dude who would not shut up, rambling on and on Twitter, saying very questionable things and making very ill-informed claims, and I would look over every now and then and just go, damn, this guy is still going. But every time I inched towards finally just taking the plunge and making my own video, he kind of calmed down, and I didn't want to be accused of carrying on a drama, or worse, having my friends be given more grief because I decided to say something about him. And then the Akumu and John Swan stuff happened, and I decided, you know what? This dude has finally made such a huge ass out of himself that I'm going to just talk about everything that I've wanted to for some time. And yes, I'm a little bit late to the most recent drama situation, but I had bigger fish to fry than Kai at the very beginning of this month, and a lot of archives and screenshots to dig through, because we are going through more than just the recent drama stuff. Better late than never anyways, right? Jar will be popping in later, and Scrittus asked to be involved, but I'm not sure I trust him to speak, but I've still decided to let him be here. Say hi to everyone, Scrittus. You doing good in there? Glad to hear it. My biggest issues with Kai are several things, but to summarize, I think that Kai is incredibly emotionally driven to the point that he will stretch the words and actions of those he does not like so that he can push his own narrative or preconceived notions about the situation forward, and if and when he is called out for this, he will double down, claim people are misinterpreting his words or adding meaning to them that isn't there, even when it very clearly is, sometimes even going as far as to claim he completely did not do something that he definitely did do. He also has a tendency to give everyone he dislikes incredibly uncharitable interpretations, often opting for the worst possible interpretation. And if you do try to explain to them that his interpretation isn't necessarily fair, he will tell you that you are wrong and you do not know what you're talking about. I know because I tried to talk to him civilly one time about a point he used against Peaches, and that is exactly what happened. But on the flip side, he will get incredibly upset if he is given anything other than the absolute best interpretation possible. And it's this constant defensiveness and this constant need for Kai to be right all of the time that leads to him looking very hypocritical and just generally like an ass. And then he lashes out at everyone disagreeing with him, sometimes insulting them, crying harassment, or subscribing racially motivated undertones to their disagreement. But this can start to get tricky because there are people who have actually harassed Kai, who have been racist towards him, who have given him grief beyond what is necessary. And I can empathize with Kai in that regard. And again, I think that because Kai is so emotionally driven, he sees what those with malintent say and do, and his instinct is to lash out and attribute that attitude to all or at least most of his critics and detractors. But all Kai does in lashing out this way is alienate people who were willing to have honest civil conversations with him about their disagreement, because they are met with a lot of hostility. I think this is part of why so many people were so against Kai during the recent Akumu copyright strike situation. His reaction to past criticism has left a really sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, which does not bode well in future situations where you want people to view you favorably. Now, I don't plan on going through every single incorrect or debatable thing that Kai has said. It would take forever and it's pretty unnecessary, but I do at least want to build my case for this being a pattern, this being something that Kai has done for some time, and explaining where a lot of negative feelings towards Kai and the community have come from. And so I have curated what I feel are some of the best examples of his types of behavior that I've spoken about above. Okay, so, like I mentioned earlier, the Peaches drama, that's where I first was introduced to the concept that is Kai Weiss. I know that he was involved in the Toby drama, though for the most part, it seems like he was more or less in the right there. There was some controversy with a private story of Toby's being leaked, but other people who are actually there and know the situation are going to be able to explain all of that way better, so I am fast forwarding to the Peaches drama. As a very quick rundown, as quick of a rundown as I can give without leaving out context important for this video. For those of you who do not know about the Hopeless Peaches drama, prison-mate Luke made a claim that Peaches faked a mental health crisis to avoid the criticism she had been getting during the Toby drama, citing this tweet. But it was later revealed and confirmed by Manga Common that Peaches had a legitimate health crisis the night she made the tweet and was close to seriously harming herself, but was talked out of it. After Peaches confronted Luke on this claim, he made a solo video about Peaches, doubling down on his claim and adding many others in the mix, including a very serious claim that Peaches said Luke wanted her to die, citing this comment. We'll get to debunking this in just a minute, but Luke was seriously stretching with that claim. The video was shit and full of all sorts of holes, but it didn't matter. The video took off and it spiraled into other creators like Creepshow Art Omnia and the man of the hour, Kai Weiss, making their own videos. Omnia and Kai both had beef with Peaches from the Toby drama before Prison-Mate Luke's video, and they spoke about their experiences as well as some of the claims Luke made in his video. Crucial context given. Let's just take a look at what Kai says about the most egregious of Luke's claims.
I'm going to keep this short and sweet because currently Luke has 2 videos where he goes over this specific situation with Peaches, but the gist of it was that after Jar made his video on me and Omnia, Luke responded to that video and called Peaches out on her behavior, as well as specifically calling her out for making a tweet that could have been perceived as baiting. Luke definitively calls it such. Peaches soon spun this and made this comment regarding what Luke said. Yeah, I won't lie. To have a channel bigger than me with such a popular video, with so many people attacking my character, or just me outright because I didn't die, it's like the whole world is saying that I should have. Okay, Peaches, this is disgusting. The literal meaning of baiting is to use suicide to gain someone's attention or pity. It literally stops there. Based on what Luke has seen you do now and in the past, that is the conclusion he came to. Never did he wish that you would die, but he did find it disgusting that you would concern your audience the way that you did. And I find it disgusting that you would even put that evil on someone else. Peaches, this is a pattern, and I mean this in the kindest way possible. Please stop tweeting. Just stop. And again, I want to say this in the kindest way possible too, running your mouth. You tweet way too much and start sympathy seeking when you can't handle the pressure that you threw onto yourself. If you're going to run your mouth, run it, but stop running it about other people and other creators, because they are going to notice and call you out for it. The amount of tweets, subtweets, and comments that you have made not only about the Toby drama, but me, Omnia, Luke, and who I'll soon get into, Thuman, has been ridiculous. Not only that, but even in the past when you had a much smaller audience, you made a post similar to the tweets that Luke called you out for that said this. This is probably going to be my last post, so goodbye to everyone who has been kind to me. I'm not really good with words, so yeah. Peaches, I'm not going to doubt that you deal with mental problems. I never will. But this is a pattern, and messages like this make people extremely concerned for you. If you're going to say something like this, even back then, You need to realize that there is a problem and seek professional help. And if being online is perpetuating your depressive moods, try to take the steps needed to detach yourself from it. Because even after you posted this on Tumblr, you went back to posting normally like you usually do, as if you didn't just put that blog out there. You also made a tweet thread on Twitter that you soon deleted where you started talking about how you relapsed into. Here is the tweet you made after you deleted it. And this is yet another sign that you need to get help. And I genuinely hope you do.
So Kai does present Luke's points as if they are purely from Luke's own point of view, and the line of logic that led Luke to his conclusions without directly stating his own stance on them, at least when it comes to the baiting claim. He also doesn't challenge the claim or take notice of how dangerous of a statement it is, but I will at least say, for that part, he's not making direct statements on his agreements, even though he will express a very similar sentiment in just a minute, but we'll get there. Kai does, however, very clearly agree with Luke and support his claims and his interpretation of this comment of Peach's, calling her actions disgusting and berating her for it. So here is the problem with all of that. Luke's initial claim was that Peaches was a sewer slide baiter, claiming that this tweet where she is expressing game-ending thoughts was only used to garner sympathy and deflect from criticism, and used this whole thing to call Peaches manipulative. And the evidence he uses is that she came back to Twitter afterwards and tried to move on as if nothing happened. Very common behavior of those dealing with mental health issues, by the way. The only reason Peaches came back to Twitter afterwards is because she did not act on those game-ending thoughts, because she was talked out of it. After Luke's video with that claim went live, people started repeating that same sentiment that she was manipulative for her actions, citing the exact same evidence that Luke did. So Peaches takes a look at all of this and says, wow, so I didn't go through with my self-harming thoughts, and now I am being called a manipulator who tried to deflect from criticism. Seems if I had just gone through with my initial plans that night, nobody would be able to say this, which is exactly the sentiment that she is expressing in this comment. She never says that Luke wanted her to die or wanted her to hurt herself. She is, unfortunately, correctly pointing out that if she had just gone through with it, nobody would be able to call her a liar or a baiter because she would have just done it. This also highlights just how dangerous of a claim Luke made. I and Peaches herself have expressed from the beginning of this whole mess that we do not think that Luke did this out of malice, but it was an incredibly poorly thought out claim with serious implications that were not thought through. Kai, whether he meant to or not, helped bolster those claims and gave his voice and platform to them, fully throwing his support behind the narrative that Peaches said Luke wanted her to die, and added to the narrative that she was being manipulative with these tweets and comments, which is not the case. And I want to emphasize, I do not think that Kai did this maliciously either. I think the whole Peaches situation had layers and layers of misunderstanding and misinterpretations happening that made the whole thing a mess. But I do think he saw the claims from Luke against a person he already had issues with and ran with them without stopping to consider if they were true or not, or what kind of implication they had. And though he didn't make the direct statement about Luke's self-delete baiting claims, he does express a very similar sentiment to Luke.
You tweet way too much and start sympathy seeking when you can't handle the pressure that you threw onto yourself.
He said that he believes Peaches has mental health issues and wants her to take care of them, but he still said that he thought she was a sympathy seeker over her tweets where she discusses her mental health or makes allusion to her mental health problems, and suggests that she makes them because she can't handle the pressure she puts onto herself. The only major difference is that prison mate Luke initially uses the term baiter, and Kai says sympathy seeker, but they both mean it in the same way, especially when you consider in his first solo video on Peaches, Luke changes the wording of his accusation to sympathy baiter, making their claims nearly identical. They are both claiming that she made the tweets about her mental health in an attempt to deflect from criticism over drama with no solid evidence.
I'm not saying you don't have mental health problems, but you would constantly come back to post more things and beg for sympathy. And when you were getting genuine criticism for all the garbage you've done, you decided to bait your audience, going off the grid for hours to make your audience worry that you're hurt or kill yourself. And guess what? 2 days later, you were back to making tweets again. And she's been doing this for a long time. It's very manipulative, and she's always using her mental health as a pity me card.
You tweet
way too much and start sympathy seeking when you can't handle the pressure that you threw onto yourself.
Luke said she couldn't handle the criticism she was getting from the drama. Kai says that she couldn't handle the pressure she put on herself. Both statements seemingly dismissed the simplest explanation behind this tweet, which is that she had genuine self-harming thoughts that night that were not related to the drama, or at minimum believed the worst possible interpretation of the tweets, which was the major problem Peaches and later everyone else had with Luke's claims. I and many others found it in very poor taste that Kai would still make such a statement, essentially saying she just did it for attention, which is a common dismissal of people who are dealing with self-harming thoughts that is incredibly dangerous. He even tries to bolster this claim by citing this old post of Peaches, saying that this proved a pattern of behavior. But he said himself in the video that this post was from when she had a much smaller audience, so I'm automatically thinking like 2 or 3 years ago. I went and found this post, and it is from November 15th, 2018, so pretty much 2 years before the now infamous tweet. I don't really consider 2 times in 2 years enough to warrant a pattern of behavior, especially when talking about mental health, something that has a lot of ups and downs. We have no idea what the context behind this post is. There is nothing about this post that indicates it wasn't made out of genuine crisis. This post was made way before the Toby drama even happened, so it 100% was not made because of any criticisms Peaches got during that situation. If Peaches were making posts in this manner very often, or putting them in between tweets about how she was getting criticized for her actions, then maybe I would understand their position better, but that simply is not what happened here. Yes, we all agree that in general, Peaches has had issues oversharing on social media, but that should have been its own completely separate criticism. Making a cry for help on Twitter in the midst of a crisis isn't the thing that you should use to refer to somebody as a sympathy seeker who is trying to hide from criticism, unless you can show some solid evidence to support that claim. Doing otherwise is irresponsible regardless of your personal feelings towards that person. And even though he would later claim otherwise, Kai helped spread Luke's narrative, supported some of his claims directly, and made the comment about Peaches being a sympathy seeker. I do appreciate that Kai says he genuinely hoped that Peaches sought out help for her issues, but Kai's biggest problem in this video was that he failed to fully think through what Luke said about Peaches, how harmful those claims were, and then he used his platform to spread those ideas to his audience. But you know what? A lot of people did. A lot of people took Luke's claims at face value and repeated them and agreed with Luke in their own videos. But most people realized the harmful role they played after the drama died down, and they were willing to apologize. Even though they were not the source of the claims themselves, they recognized that they did not do their due diligence and contributed to a very harmful and unsubstantiated narrative, even if they still had legitimate issues with some of Peach's other actions. And they have mostly apologized, been forgiven, and moved on from all of it. Did Kai do this? No. I don't need to work on anything. I am perfectly capable of admitting I'm wrong. I just didn't do anything wrong in that drama, and I am very right in saying that. I genuinely don't care that you're on the other side. Your opinion is not valued whatsoever. Peaches is a sympathy seeker. If y'all don't get that means she simply seeks sympathy, I can't help you. I am not apologizing to anyone for anything. I'm setting that straight right now. If you can't understand Omnia and I's explanations or our words, then I have nothing to tell you. Racism, harassments, and attacks don't make me do what you want. I'm standing my ground. I have nothing I need to apologize for. If y'all didn't get it, that's you. There was nothing either of us needed to apologize for. Not to mention, telling someone they're a sympathy seeker is the exact same spirit as Luke saying Peaches self-delete baited. Both accusations claim she just had the crisis to avoid criticism and get attention. No it isn't. If I said she was a baiter, I would have said so, Scrittus. I literally said in my video, I think she's a sympathy seeker, not that she is one. That is my opinion. I never stated it as a fact. Same with this thumbnail mess. Okay, so you think she nearly killed herself to get sympathy. listen to yourself. You should have publicly denounced Luke's claims. Bro, why? We are not Luke. We never agreed, and y'all try so hard to say that we did, or find some way to say that we did. It was you fools who made the narrative that we agreed, and then got mad when we said otherwise. What a joke. Y'all really let Peaches say we supported Luke. We're friends with him and Shannon, and we're ableist, and especially let her claim I said she faked tendencies, and not a single one of you asked for proof. If your goofy ass really expects me to apologize or take critique for claims that never even came out of my mouth in the first place, you really gotta screw loose.
You tweet way too much and start sympathy seeking when you can't handle the pressure that you threw onto yourself.
He does the thing, he denies he did the thing, gives Peaches shit when she calls him out for doing the thing. It is magical, really. Even if he didn't say some of this stuff himself, which he definitely did, he is blatantly lying when he says that he never supported any of Luke's claims, and even if he weren't lying about that, I think that helping to spread information alone is worth apologizing for, let alone throwing your support behind them, but Kai does not seem to think so. But Kai would later graduate from repeating other people's misinterpretations to making his own. This came after the bulk of the drama had kind of died down on YouTube, but this shit continued for some time on Twitter. Kai on his Twitter posted these screenshots of Peach's tweets, in which she is being apologetic over a misunderstanding of Omnia's actions during the drama. The tweets read, "That's good. Promoting Luke's video against me definitely made it seem more supportive, especially the part of her retracting forgiveness due to it, which is where the misconceptions lie. Too much bandwagoning going on and not getting both sides, like how this drama started. I'm glad to know Omnia did speak to Luke about it at the time, and it's quite upsetting nothing was done to actually retract that allegation when it was brought to him." Kai's wonderful response to this was, "We are not responsible for what Luke does with his videos and platform. We don't have to stop him from putting out what he wanted to put out. He needs to take responsibility for his own words." Now, if you know how to read, you'll notice that Kai is responding to a point that Peaches did not make in her tweet. It seems he took this part of her tweets where she's saying that it was upsetting that nothing was done when the issues with Luke's self-delete baiting claim was brought up to his attention, which is very clearly referring to Luke not changing the script after he was made aware of the issues with that statement, and Kai interpreted this as Peaches saying that Kai or Omnia should have changed the script for Luke, and that Peaches is somehow blaming them for Luke's words and actions. That is clearly not what is happening in these tweets, and it shows what I mean by him constantly being on the defensive, stretching the words of others to mean things that they very clearly do not mean. It screams of being so blinded by spite towards a person that you'll accuse them of saying things against you that they do not say, and cast yourself in the victim role even when you are not being victimized. But okay, emotions are high, misunderstandings happen. He never really addressed this to my knowledge, but maybe things will just kind of calm down now. Nah, after that shit, I officially cannot stand this community. Oh my god, you cannot make this shit up. This is like telling a victim they had it coming because they dressed the way they wanted to. Maybe check the instead. Y'all make so many excuses for Peaches, it's wild. Okay. So, in before Peaches says I compared her actions to with this analogy. I cannot believe this bullshit. This is so fucking stupid. I can't do this with you people anymore. I'm so sick. The facts can be right in front of you, and it's still not enough. Wow. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, let's start with Kai denying that he is doing the thing that he did in the tweet right underneath it. The part where he says this is like telling a victim they had it coming could be in reference to the people defending Peaches. Incredibly problematic already that you would take other people critiquing you or disagreeing with you in a petty drama situation and compare that to a horrific act against another person. But even then, this part where you say, maybe check the perpetrator instead? Kai, sweaty, that is you comparing Peaches to a perpetrator of these horrible acts. Don't try to gaslight me and everyone else saying that it isn't. Peaches is the perpetrator in this analogy. An analogy is used to make a comparison. In your tweet, you say, this is like, which is a comparative statement. You compared this to, and he defended this tweet so much on Twitter, crying about people misinterpreting his words, when a lot of people were just trying to say, hey man, that's kind of a messed up thing you said. And this is another example of Kai's defensiveness getting him into deeper shit. If all he's going to do is insult people who disagree with him and claim that they're just stretching or they just want to jump down his throat for no reason, he only succeeds in alienating people who were initially willing to have that conversation and to try and civilly explain their issues with what he said and what he did. And it leaves such a bitter taste in people's mouths. It will not make them want to try and have that civil conversation with him in the future. They will be much more likely to respond to his actions with more hostility, because that is what they were met with from Kai when they tried the civil route. To this day, he has not apologized for this, and he had defended this tweet very recently. A mutual of mine and Peaches tweeted this at him, and he responded by laughing that people were still upset about it. And when they pointed out how traumatic making this comparison could be, he says, oh, I didn't realize I could give trauma to strangers on the internet. Oh yeah, Kai, because comparing the actions of a victim of CSA to that of a can't possibly be traumatizing or deeply upsetting. And you have the audacity to wonder why people are skeptical when you say that you are a huge defender of mental health. I have been trying to be kind of nice so far, but my guy, what in the actual fuck is all of this? I don't know how twisted you have to have it in your head to the point that you convinced yourself that this was an okay thing to say, then defend it so strongly and being completely dismissive when people are still upset over it, saying you can't believe people are still on it. Yes, we are still on it. You did a horrible thing and you have dug your heels in defending it. No shit that people are still going to be mad about it. I am going to move on from this stuff with Peaches now. I think I've made my important points clear. So now we're going to move on to the main showdown as of recent that we all know and love, and show how Kai has carried on his worst behaviors into this situation. Here's one thing that I do want to establish. Akumu, an absolute shithead. I honestly do not blame Kai for his hatred of Akumu. Dude seems incredibly annoying. He likes to pick fights for the sake of picking them, and this paired with Kai's tendency for lashing out was an absolute recipe for disaster from the start. Kai made a video about his dealing with Akumu, which I think he was in his right to do, even if I do think the best route would have been just ignoring Akumu. But still, he was definitely in his right to make the video, I will say that. Now, Akumu responded, which I also think that he was well within his right to do, as is the nature of commentary, but oh boy, here we go. So if there is one thing that is guaranteed to get people's attention in the commentary community, it's abusing a system that has been used to unfairly screw over so many creators. Now, if you saw Jar's video on Kai, you'll have probably seen my part where I explain that Kai pretty much told on himself in this situation. His earliest tweets about copyright striking Akumu make no mention of copyright infringement. There is this comment where someone is basically informing Kai that Akumu's video exists, and Akumu says hi in it, and Kai says that he will say hi in his own way, which tells me that he was going into Akumu's video with the intent to copyright strike it without even seeing the video. He said that Akumu got the smoke he ordered. He literally said that he retaliated against Akumu for the harassment. He essentially said he felt justified in taking this illegal action because harassment is also illegal. Kai made his intent and reasoning for issuing the copyright strike clear in all of these, but that wasn't going to satisfy people. Abusing the copyright system is a big deal. So later, Kai would try to start bringing more more and more copyright-related arguments to the table, but to me this reads heavily of backtracking and trying to save his own ass, given the earlier tweets that I showed. But he really took it another step forward when he insulted everyone who saw all of this and came to the correct conclusion that Kai made the strike in bad faith, and accused them of ignoring his clarifications and only saying he did it with bad intentions for shock value, or crying when his intentions were assumed. Nobody assumed anything. Kai put his intentions out there for all to see. Everyone else just read them. And again, belittling people and insulting their intelligence is not going to make them want to take the civil route with you. It breeds a more hostile response. And even then, the argument of the copyright being infringed is incredibly flimsy. Akumu did use a lot of Kai's videos, almost all of it, but given the context of this being a response, the lack of audience overlap, the fact that this video isn't monetized, and you know, Kai previously saying on his channel that people should put his whole video in if they are responding to him.
The funny thing about this video is that in the description you say that I cried about you for 20 minutes, when in reality, Sen, a majority of that video is you crying about me. I wanted to put your entire video in mine so people could see everything you have to say, rather than just parts of it.
You criticized me for cutting context because I didn't put every DM in my video, but you didn't put my full video in your video.
Most people who know anything about copyright law believe that Akumu's video would fall under fair use, one of these people being John Swan. John Swan is someone who has independently studied copyright law for some time, so he's someone who can give a well-informed and supported opinion, which is exactly what he did in a live stream where he explained the situation and how Akumu's video very likely would fall under fair use in court. He even shows that Kai himself had done all of the things he claimed made Akumu's video not fair use in his own videos. He used practically all of a Sin video in one of his responses, and he used an uncut 4-minute clip of a Harley TBS video in another. This doesn't necessarily prove legality of the use, but it does make Kai look like a massive hypocrite. John Swan then invited Kai onto the stream to discuss and debate the issues, and...
So John, you can't prove that what I did was illegal at all.
No, I said that in this stream I can't prove it. Of course I can't prove it. It has to go to court.
Then there's absolutely no need for you to start flapping your chops on Twitter. That it's objectively illegal because you can't prove that and you don't have the tools
I said
to
that
do
I can't prove it.
You think it's illegal.
Yeah.
And I rest my case.
What do you mean you rest your case?
John, stop quacking, bro. Relax. You have a certifiable background.
I said to you no. I already said in the beginning of the stream that I'm not a lawyer. I said to you no already.
So you mean to tell me, John, that you have absolutely no certifiable background or anything that could even make you a verified source of information to go to about this, and you're weighing in on this situation?
Yeah, just like you strike the guy without knowing anything about law.
Yeah, Kai made himself look like an absolute idiot. None of his points landed. He tried to pick at the credibility of John Swan, saying that since John wasn't an actual lawyer or someone who studied law in school, then this was just all opinion, and therefore John Swan shouldn't make claims about copyright law, even though Kai struck a video while knowing even less about copyright law, and making a claim that you can't talk about something because it's an opinion is stupid. It was a mess. Anyone watching thought Kai lost hands down. Now, do I think that John Swan could have handled the debate better? Sure, but I also don't think that he said anything that was incorrect, and I don't blame him for being frustrated. But anyways, given all that happened in the debate, people kept criticizing Kai and calling him out on his hypocrisy and his actions, which led to Kai just complaining that he was getting harassed by everyone, which, by the way, Kai, I do genuinely think that what Akumu did to you is harassment. But when you go around and start painting a broad brush like this, and insinuating that everyone who has criticized you is also harassing you, you are going to lose so many people. People who didn't go back and see what Akumu actually did, they just see you cry harassment when most people were not doing that, and they are going to assume that you did the same thing with Akumu. It is the classic boy who cried wolf scenario. And this is sort of what continues happening. Kai did issue an apology after a few days, but he also says he still felt justified in the strike, so it was essentially a non-apology for the main issue that people were upset about. The tweets continued about people unjustly giving Kai grief and how he was still in the right, yada yada. He would private, unprivate, continue to talk, etc, etc, etc. This eventually culminated in Kai deleting his Twitter and his entire Prince Kai channel, which is certainly a move. It really seems like he simply could not take that he was in the wrong, and people were willing to tell him as such. And see, what's really sad is I think that if Kai had just said earlier, you know what, I was really fed up with Akumu because he had been doing X, Y, and Z to me, and I lashed out inappropriately. I will remove the strike, and I shouldn't have taken that step to handle it. I really think people would have been a lot more sympathetic towards him, and most would have been willing to forgive and move on, but he didn't. He just dug himself a deeper and deeper grave until he could not get out. But we're at this point. His channel is gone. His Twitter is gone. He says that he will be leaving the commentary community. This is a sad end, but it does seem like the end, right? Of course it isn't, cause see, Kai has deleted and reinstated his Twitter several times in the past, says he will stop talking about something and leave the community, but then continues to do so after not even a day, so he came back to Twitter, but he did take a different approach this time. Can't wait to copy strike anyone who ever used a clip of my videos. You thought Akumu was it? LMFAO. Good luck if you ever used a Kai Weiss clip, peasants. You should yourself. Now. Oh shit, my bad, don't care, plus I'm black, plus I won the debate, plus cope. Akumu bad, I won swan debate, copy strike, not illegal, not sorry, yada yada. There you go, please complain here. Can we copy strike John Swan? Apology not real, commentary community bad, angry tweet. This is where I enter the chat. Now, even though I knew he was just fucking around on his Twitter, he was still being an annoying little bitch about everything that had happened, so I, for the first time, mentioned Kai on my Twitter. I posted a screenshot of his tweet and said, Kai Weiss Shut the Fuck Up Challenge 2021. Now, was this tweet nice? No. Anyway, I didn't tag him or quote retweet him because I knew that he was just fishing for that to happen. But I did want to tell him to shut the fuck up because I had been watching and listening to his drivel for nearly a year now, so I did. And Kai, in his infinite wisdom, quote retweeted my tweet with this. She won't show the real tweet though. And he edited my tweet to say, can this stupid N-word please shut up? Hard R. And you know what, Kai? If you happen to be watching this, I genuinely hope that you were not trying to suggest that I was racist with this tweet, or that any of my issues with you has anything to do with race. And I know that you said you were just doing a little trolling, but typically when you make a joke, troll or not, the joke is only funny if you believe it to be true or representative of something in some way. And here the joke that you are making is at my expense, saying that this is what I actually think. You somehow saw my tweet and decided to subscribe a racial prejudice to it. I do believe that you are implying that I think in that way on some level, which I find absolutely disgusting and abhorrent. But even if I were to assume that you didn't think that, did you not consider how much of an issue this could be for me? I was completely disgusted when I saw this in my mentions, to see those words put in my mouth. But at first I was just going to ignore it until someone asked me if the tweet you posted was real. And then I realized that all it would take is for somebody to not understand the context that you were trolling, or for somebody to even just come across this randomly and to see that, and to think that I am a massive racist, or even just a bad faith actor could take that screenshot and post it elsewhere with even less context. And I have to deal with that being something that is out there now. You won't, and you probably don't care. But thinking of even one person seeing those words said for me by you and thinking that I believe in that kind of stuff is disgusting. It completely repulses me. But then it gets even funnier because, like I said earlier, I did not tag Kai in my initial tweet. I put his name in it, which is how I assume he found it, but Kai did tag me via a quote retweet when he made this. So he clearly wanted me to see it and to get my attention. But later in the night, he said, guys, you know you can just ignore me. It's okay to do that. Kai, you could have just ignored my tweet. You clearly wanted my attention. You tagged me and you put racial slurs in my mouth. No shit, that is going to get people's attention and then make them criticize you. And just the troll mentality of standing on a box and screaming dumb shit and then being shocked when people respond to the dumb shit you say, and then you want to complain when people take notice of you. It's absurd and it completely lacks self-awareness. But hey, I'm not the only person who Kai has given shit to. JustARobot asked if he could give his piece about some of his experiences with Kai & Co, which align perfectly with a lot of the points I have already spoken about, so I am going to pass it over to him. Take it away, Jar.
You know, me and several other commentators have tried very hard to work things out with Kai and Omnia, but it doesn't seem to matter what we do. Whether we give them mild criticism, apologize to them, or straight up just stop talking about them altogether, they just keep escalating things. Literally today, as I'm recording this, Kai photoshopped one of Spy V's comments to make it look like she called them the hard R N-word. And what does Kai do just a few hours later? Well, obviously they say things like, "Why am I alive?" It's a mental fight every fucking day, bro. I'm just so tired and I just want to be left alone. I feel like I can't do that anymore. I feel like this hasn't ended since my first drama and has only gotten worse. Just leave me alone. Kai does this shit all the time. First they'll start shit with someone, and once they get a little taste of their own medicine, they'll either A, use the race card, or B, use the mental health card. Do you know what was the thing that pushed Kai over the edge to do a second video on me? Definitely Bored Oranges made a video on Carmen Ryder. I left a comment on his video saying, "I like Carmen Ryder for helping me out, but what she said was a prison mate Luke move. It wasn't okay for Luke to do it, so she should know it's not okay for her to do." Someone replied to my comment saying that Kai compared me to Carmen Ryder, and I replied with, "He fucking did that?" For a guy who says, "I want nothing to do with you," he sure keeps putting me in his videos. After being informed that this wasn't true, I edited my comment saying apparently this was a lie too. Now unfortunately, both Kai's second video on me and the comment he left are gone, so I have to try to quote it from memory. But Kai acted like I was just so willing to believe this and I should have done my research and double checked. It's a comment, bro. It's on a tweet or a video. And the video I left it under only had a couple hundred views on it at the time. Do I have to double check literally every single comment I make? I remember Kai said something about Omnia never talked about you on her channel, which I don't know why he's bringing Omnia up, because I wasn't bringing Omnia up in my comment, but yes, Omnia did talk about me in both of her Hopeless Peaches videos. I didn't reply to Kai's comment because I thought he was having mental health problems at the time, but he took this as me trying to dodge questions. And for someone who was on the brink of committing self-deletion, it's a pretty weird move to do a video on me just because of a fucking comment. And this was the only thing I said about Kai after several months. He's been tweeting about me constantly, and I've just been ignoring it, because if I say anything, he'll just escalate the situation like he always does. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this person who said Kai compared me to Carmen Ryder was just an alt account of Kai. I'm not saying they are, I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if they are. Several months ago, I left a comment under Emily Artful's video about Creepshow art. All I said was, "Creepshow art hurt me and my friends as well," along with a few other things. What does Omnia say about my comment? Literally gets terrorized, harassed, and stalked for over a decade. Jar, but, what about me? Where's my clout? Like the tone deafness, it's outstanding, laughing my ass off. I hate it. Someone else says, "Not Jar and Emily's comments pretending like they're the same." Kai retweets this and says, "Lamau, not the way y'all commentary channels are virtue signaling like you're the victims, ... Okay, this motherfucker really made someone else's story all about himself. I'm dead. Skullface, skullface." And later, someone by the name of No One Asked made a video on me called "Jar is not a Creepshow art victim," making more allegations about me being racist that I already previously debunked, using the Creepshow art drama as a jumping off point so it got more views. I tried to ignore this, but then they made a second video on me. And I heard they were going to make even more videos on me, so I decided to reply to their first video on me on my second channel, and so far they haven't done anything more. I also heard that they did a video on harsh opinions. I don't know if that is true or not, but I heard they did. I never compared myself to Emily Artful. I wasn't making it all about myself. I said me and my friends. Mostly Hopeless Peaches. She was the main person Creepshow Art hurt that I know. And if Emily Artful truly thought I was making her story all about me, then why did she art my comment? How is a comment supposed to get me clout? It only got a few thousand likes. What did I get, like 39 subs from that? Omnia, your video on Creepshow Art got 1 million views. Who got more clout out of this, me or you? I never claimed I was a Creepshow Art victim. All I said was, she hurt me, not that I was a victim or anything. I'm allowed to feel hurt by someone if they slander me and call me a super racist. How is it all about me when I say, and my friends? People like Hopeless Peaches, and Manga Common when Creepshow Art implied that he was sexist. Did I talk shit about you guys? No! I just left one comment. Get off my fucking dick. If you want people to leave you alone, then you should leave them alone. What goes around, comes around. I thought now that we had a common enemy, we could finally at long last start to work things out. But you guys just don't want to work things out with anyone who previously had drama with you. And now I finally realize, the way you guys see it, it's either us or you guys. Well, I choose us. People like me, Manga Common, Hopeless Peaches, Spy V, and Scrittus. We've tried so many times to work things out with you guys. Well, the time to talk is over.
Thank you, Jar. And I know that I didn't talk about Omnia much in this video, but she and Kai do often work together and defend each other, agreeing on several things, and some of my issues with Kai are also the same as with Omnia, but I don't want to conflate the two as if they are the same person. I can't say I understand why she's so ready to defend him when he does indefensible things and backs him up when he makes blatantly untrue claims. It's confusing to say the least, but that is also a whole other can of worms for another day. And honestly, Jar said that the time for talking is over. And while I am not quite there, I would be willing to talk if Kai wanted to have an honest conversation or a discussion, but I am right on that edge and I do not blame Jar at all for already being done. Kai is almost impossible to talk to in any sort of civil way, and when he's willing to go around and spread misinformation and horrible interpretations about people and then never admit fault or correct his wrongs to his audience, it's not hard to see why people are completely fed up with him. And Kai, I do hope that you take care of your mental health. I absolutely do not want you to hurt yourself, but I don't see how you're going to spend an entire night goading Twitter into responding to you and then be upset when Twitter responds to you. This is what I and others mean when we say that Twitter does not seem healthy for you, and for your own sake, you need to be able to take a step back from it sometimes. And if there was stuff outside of the drama and Twitter stuff happening that influenced this tweet, I genuinely hope that you are able to work through all of that and that it ends up okay for you. Because nobody with any amount of human decency wants to see you hurt yourself over this stuff, Kai. It's been a long day, but luckily I think that we're just about done. Ready to pack up and leave, Scrittus? Scrittus?
You know what, guys? I'm gonna say it. I'm really gonna say it. Kai, I don't think you're a bad dude.
Wait, what? You're gonna be nice? I wouldn't have locked you up in a cage if you had just said that. And why did you bite me?
Granted, it really does take quite a lot for me to think someone's truly a bad person. But the reality is that most people are capable of becoming better than they are. And in my eyes, a bad person isn't just someone who makes mistakes and has bad habits. They're people who refuse to correct their mistakes and get rid of their bad habits. Or at the very least, make a good faith attempt to do so. Kai, you've liked a few of my comments on Twitter, and we briefly talked about how cool Legends Arceus is gonna be, so that means we're basically friends. Because much like a baby duckling, I have imprinted upon you, and want to see you in the best light I possibly can. I am certain that with the power of our friendship, we can get out of this drama. Jokes aside, I think I can level with you because the situation you're in right now isn't much different than the one Peaches found themselves in. Granted, in my opinion, I think you're a lot more deserving of the shit that you're getting, at least the criticism and not the racism. I don't think anybody deserves the racism you're getting. But first, before I talk about you, I want to talk about the parasocial people who have taken it upon themselves to force this lesson down your throat, which has only made you double down and continue to do what you do. Seriously, when is Twitter going to cancel the audience? I mean, can we do that? Like, I think people are overdue. Because either way you look at it, Kai, you're not irredeemable. You just really piss a lot of people off with the way you conduct yourself. As I'm sure Spy has already gone into great detail about, you have this thing where it's pretty much impossible to convince you or reason with you, and when people are pissed off, they kind of just don't leave you alone. And that's the problem. People in the comment sections on Twitter just can't leave you alone. Now, granted, you don't make it easy for them, but at the same time, I still feel like a lot of people on Twitter have this self-righteous attitude, like they're going to change the world or bring some sort of justice by dogpiling on somebody that is currently publicly viewed as somebody who's not that great. I think there's a lot of neutral parties, though, Kai, that you tend to alienate with the way that you conduct yourself. People who are making good faith arguments and want to come to an agreement with you are then lambasted by you and shoved towards this box that you always put them in until they really can't be on any other side than against you. I mean, if you watched the stream before, John Swan really didn't seem like he was trying to ruin your career. In fact, I think he wanted to come to an agreement with you and have people leave you alone about it. But then, well, we know what happened. You tried to win instead of listening, and John quickly got fed up with you, like a lot of people tend to do. Because you've shown that you don't know how to listen, Kai. You really only know how to defend and argue. Now, Jar's part doesn't exactly represent my opinion of you either, but I think it's important to have his take in this video because a lot of people hold that same opinion, and to be frank, I'm on the verge of being fed up with you too. The more Twitter posts you make, the harder it becomes to play devil's advocate for you here. But the great thing is that we don't need to agree 100% with one another, Kai. We just need to agree on the fact that you fucked up. And even if you fuck up, that doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It's only the end of the world if you refuse to change or listen or give any sort of inch to anybody trying to convince you. You got here by digging your heels in and defending yourself from anything and everything that was a dissenting opinion. Trust me when I say that the only way you're getting out of it is when you learn to accept that you've made a mistake. You wouldn't be in this situation with so many people mad at you if you hadn't done anything wrong. And before you say, but what about Peaches? Peaches also did some things wrong, and we made sure, as her friends, that she would apologize for those things. And that's what you have to do now. You don't have to accept everything they're saying about you, but you have to understand that you did fuck up, and you did do some things wrong, and you do have some things to apologize for and own up to. You are not perfect, and nobody expects you to be. Separate yourself from your mistakes. Not everything you've done in life needs to be justified or innocent. You're human, and you made a mistake. The path forward isn't to deny it and run away from it and change your name and try to get rid of everything and join a new community. The path forward is to own up to it and apologize so that you can move on and you can do other things without people dragging you back into it. You've got a few main issues that we need to unpack, and that's your addiction to Twitter and your pride. You say you're going to get off Twitter for your own health, but it doesn't seem like you have someone around you to keep you from doing that. Social media addiction is a real thing, so I think it's important for you to try and find a support system for yourself. Ask people you trust to help you stay offline. When the whole Peaches drama was going on, we had to do that for her, because otherwise they would have never been able to get themselves out of their endless cycle of doom scrolling. Obviously, we couldn't monitor them at all hours of the day, but we could at least make it more difficult for them to fall in their bad habits again. Get some people around you to lock your Twitter and keep you off that website until you've been able to take the time and reflect on the situation and figure out what you really need to apologize for. We can both agree that YouTube audiences and commentators take things way too far. They are always out for blood in times like these. They want to make sure that someone that they dislike never has a chance to come back. But the thing that not a lot of people realize is that most people actually don't want that. They just think they want it in the moment because they're pissed off. Anger goes away, and in its place rises empathy. And that's exactly why you should take any time you have to collect your thoughts, wait, and listen. It's hard to do, and you can't always pull it off, but it's a skill you can practice and get better at. When you jump on every argument with so much emotion and so much anger behind it, Kai, you're arguing at half your capacity. Let that anger subside before you reply. Trust me, I've had to learn this, and I'm still trying my best to learn it. It's a lot harder to empathize with someone when that person pisses you off. My advice to you, Kai, and I know it will help things, but only you can decide to take it. Okay? If you're not gonna listen to my advice, that's fine, right? I can't really do anything more for you, so please, hear me out here. You need to recognize that you have a problem, and that problem is that you can't let things go, or let other people just have their opinions about you. I'm also a very argumentative person by nature, Kai, and I know if you're watching this far into the video, you're probably already forming arguments as to why you're actually right for doing everything you did. Why? Kai, your inability to admit when you're wrong is exactly the problem. And I think you need to recognize that about yourself before it's too late. It's not just copy striking Akumu or arguing constantly on Twitter. It's what doing those things says about you as a person. It says that you're unable to take accountability for your own actions. You're unable to admit when you're wrong, and you're unable to trust people. When someone is trying to get a rise out of you, when someone is trying to argue with you at every turn and harass you, the last thing you want to do is give them your attention and your anger. Because when you react with anger, you're playing their game. You fell right into Akumu's provocation. Not because Akumu is some tactical debating mastermind, but because you simply cannot help yourself, and you need to realize that. You are easy prey for someone like Akumu because you give them every bit of attention and anger they're seeking. You can't stop yourself from vehemently defending from any and every accusation. You can't help but to perceive other people with dissenting opinions to have some sort of underlying motivation for disagreeing with you. Even if it's against people who are trying to be on your side or explain things to you in the most diplomatic way possible. I mean, come on, Kai. I've had DMs with people after you pull them onto your Twitter page so your audience can dogpile them. I've had you do the exact same thing to me. And yeah, it was a shitty thing for you to do. But for me, it's water under the bridge. And I'm not expecting an apology for that. And Kai, you might think, well, if I don't defend myself, then people will believe it. But in reality, there are also times when defending yourself against every accusation shows your insecurity about those accusations. It shows that you're not confident enough in your outward perception that you feel the need to control it at all times. It shows that you don't trust others to give you the benefit of the doubt or come to a conclusion that you like without you having to intervene and guide them along. What you want is control, and you cannot control what other people are thinking about you, no matter how hard you try. But the antidote to that isn't to shut yourself off from everyone. It's to relinquish that control. Silence can show confidence. It can do all the arguing you would ever need to do. If someone is leveling a completely asinine claim at you, then the easiest and most effective way to deal with it is to not even entertain it at all. Or treat it with complete and utter indifference, or like it's a joke. Sure, For some claims, you simply can't ignore it. But there are times where you gotta just let people have their dogshit takes about you. Kai, you shouldn't be losing to Akumu on Twitter. The one time Akumu tried to argue with me, I figured out real quick that this guy's a debate lord whose only objective is to win on the internet. So you know what I did, Kai? I let him win. Why? Because when I award them a victory, they literally don't know what to do with themselves. His brain broke. Alright? Akumu, he dead. He dead. I mean, literally every commentary YouTuber cannot invoke Akumu's name without also adding on that he's an asshole that they don't like. Mans is getting shit on by people who are trying to defend him. He needs a W, so just let him have it every once in a while, dude. Maybe someday, Akumu will realize that there was nothing to win in the first place. But that's a lesson that both you and him need to learn. Kai, I know it feels like everyone is against you right now. You probably feel alone, and there's probably a terrible pit in your stomach every time you think about going online again. You probably want to know what other people are talking about. You can't stop yourself from searching up what other people are saying about you. But at this point, you really don't have anyone to blame but yourself. Do you realize how many people would have left you alone about this copy strike thing if you just said, oh yeah, you know what? That was too far. My bad. That's not what I want to do. That's not who I want to be, guys. I mean, just look how hopeful John Swan was before he met you. Dude was looking so bright and innocent, like, oh boy, golly gee, I think we're gonna make some real progress here, guys. I know how it is to fuck up too, so I think I could defend him a bit and we could come to a compromise here. And then you went ahead and just pissed him off. You've got a reputation of not being able to admit when you're wrong. So if you had been able to do that here, I think people really would have had a lot less to say about you. And there'd be a lot less videos talking about you too, including this one. It might have taken some time afterward for people to forgive you. Some people would have still been mad at you. Other people might have tried to hold it against you for a long time. But Kai, you would have earned so much more respect from everyone if you had just owned up instead of trying to twist the story into something that paints you as the victim. If you just showed some humility and allowed yourself to be convinced by people's arguments. And you know why I know that it would have worked? Because I did the exact same thing with you. Remember that sarcastic faux shizzle joke that I made? And then I apologized for it immediately? You know why I did that? Not because I agreed that I was some terrible racist for saying it, and not because I was completely convinced that it was damaging the black community by saying faux shizzle. No, I did it because I was told it was a step too far, and so I swallowed my pride. At the time, I was not there to antagonize you. I was going to try and build a bridge with you, because I knew that if you and Peaches didn't make up and move on, the remnants of this drama would just move on to you next. What would have happened if I dug my heels in for that moment, Kai? What if I was just like Akumu and had just continued to argue and defend myself, instead of just apologizing and keeping things polite? An apology is not a loss. It can be an admittance of guilt, but it can also be a gesture of goodwill. Apologies should not be given with the expectation that people will forgive you. Apologies are given as a sign of your intent to fix something that you've come to understand as a mistake. Your apology on Twitter is not an apology. It's a statement. I'm sorry you're wrong is not an apology, Kai. And I get why it came off like that, because you really don't want to be wrong. You don't want to admit guilt. I'm sorry. What can I do to make things better? That's an apology. And I honestly think it's the easiest way for you to get back some of the respect you've lost in people's eyes. I'm here to tell you that it might hurt. It might suck to come out and apologize and have people jump on you and hold it against you. But at the end of the day, it's what you have to do. You don't have to fully agree with everything everybody's saying. You don't have to get on your hands and knees and beg for forgiveness and degrade yourself. You only have to show good faith and prove that you can admit fault when it counts. Take a look at the people around you and take a look at yourself. You have a problem and no one around you is helping you with it. And you're not helping yourself very much either. And for me personally, that's a sad thing to see, because I do see the good in you. So help me help you. Kai. Because you are a pretty charming dude when you're just playing video games. Or when you're just being normal and you don't have to argue with people. You're not a bad person. But your pride is a massive flaw, and you need to recognize how much trouble it gets you in. I'm saying this to you, not because I hate you, or because I want you to be canceled, because I know if you don't learn how to do this, you're just going to keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again and suffering for it. I want you to go on and do your thing, playing Pokemon and just not having to worry about this, but you can't pretend like this stuff never happened. The core of the problem has not been solved, and it's only a matter of time before you repeat this behavior again. An apology can be a sign of good faith, but it can also be the end of one thing and the beginning of another. It's a promise of change and a promise of progress. These things will follow you until you put them to rest properly, Kai. And I really don't want these things to follow you, dude. Genuinely. You've been given chance after chance to just swallow your pride and smooth things over. I want to give you one more, but it's really the last one I can offer. You might think, oh, well, I don't need you. You're not a friend of mine in the first place. But I am someone who wants to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm someone who wants to believe you can be a good person. I'm someone who wants to be on your side, but simply can't because you won't let me. Because you keep letting your pride control you. I might not be your friend, but that doesn't mean that I can't be. Wrap things up in the commentary community so it doesn't follow you to your gaming channel. Leave on good terms, because the smoke from all the bridges you're burning is going to choke you out until there's nothing left. Ask yourself how many times you want to be in this situation, Kai. Because the more you ignore this part of yourself, the more you try to excuse this kind of behavior, the more you're going to be sitting in bed wondering how things got so bad. So maybe you won't take my advice here, but if you've watched this far in without clicking off, I know you'll remember my words. I'm not asking you to change overnight. In fact, I expect to be ignored at first. I expect you to blow everything off and fall back into your addiction on Twitter, tweeting endlessly about how people just won't leave you alone, blowing up my timeline, and ultimately just making me feel sorry for you, because it sucks to see someone trapped in a cycle of their own creation, spiraling deeper and deeper until there's nothing left. Now, that might sound cruel, but I know people take a few tries before they decide that they need help. No one can do this for you. And at the end of the day, you have to want to help yourself. But in case I'm wrong and you do want to stop finding yourself in this situation, then thank you for hearing me out. And I look forward to seeing how you grow from this. Take some time, collect yourself, and for fuck's sakes, battle me in Pokemon Showdown already, you fucking coward. Yeah, that's right, you thought I forgot about this shit. It's all about the Pokemon Showdown. I'm getting you out of this drama so I can beat your fucking ass in Pokemon Showdown, motherfucker. Come and get me, bitch!